30 days ago, I purchased this, the Dell XPS13. Over the course of this video, I will be telling you the reasons behind purchasing it, as well as living with it. Today I'll be covering the tech specs, performance figures, positives and negatives, and the reason I bought this thing. But first of all, a message from today's sponsor. Yeah, I wish. This laptop has a lot of the features that I want, and more importantly for me at least, the form factor that I wanted. But first of all, we'll cover some of the tech specs, which include a Intel Core i7-8550U, a 4-core 8-thread processor clocked at 1.8 GHz base and a 4 GHz boost, 16 GB of RAM in dual channel, thank you Dell, a 500 GB NVMe drive, a 4K 3840x2160 touchscreen display, 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, 1 USB 3.1 Gen 2 port, or whatever it's called these days, a micro SD card reader, a fingerprint sensor integrated into the power button, a 52 watt-hour battery, and a handy little battery level indicator that gives you a readout even when the device is off. Next up, I have prepared a few performance numbers which include both small and heavy workloads, and obviously a machine like this is designed more for productivity on the go, not really for gaming. As a result, there are only a small selection of games included in this review. All of these tests were done with minimal background processes running and with the mains power connected to ensure maximum performance. Now, while this laptop doesn't support overclocking as such, the Dell Power Manager app does include performance options for different scenarios. These tests were done with both the optimized and the ultra performance options. The cool and quiet options are both set up to reduce performance, so I've left those out. First up, Cinebench R15. And with the optimized mode, I got 56.02 FPS on the graphics, a CPU score of 597 and a single core score of 154. On the performance mode, I got 57.24 FPS, a CPU score of 586 and a single core score of 150. The closeness of these scores led me to believe that the Power Manager app really doesn't actually do anything until I realized that this is a laptop, which is designed to be portable. So I unplugged the mains power, and now I got a score on the graphics of 37.62 FPS, a CPU score of 524 and a single core score of just 77. So the Power Manager app is definitely doing its job there. Next up, Cinebench R20, and it was a similar story to R15. On the optimized mode, I got a CPU score of 1524 and a single core score of 406. On the performance mode, I got a score of 1456 and a single core score of 370. These scores are clearly the opposite of what they should be, and that is for one very simple reason: thermals. And that I will come back to later in the video. Ending off the R20 testing, I tested the optimized setting on battery power and got a CPU score of 1330 and a single core score of 170. It was quite a marked drop, exacerbated by the 25 minutes it took to complete this test. It was just agony. Next up, the big one, Premiere Pro, the reason I bought this thing. Included here is a 1-minute 1080p project and a 3-minute 2160p project to get a real taste of the performance. The 1080p project was just a few clips dropped together to reach the 1 minute in length and a small amount of lumetri color applied. 150% saturation to be exact, that's what I do for most of my videos. The render time on the optimized mode using the 1080p YouTube preset was 1 minute and 34 seconds, and in the ultra performance mode, the time was 1 minute and 36 seconds. These render times were in line with what I was expecting. Those tests were done with hardware acceleration, so out of curiosity, I also tested without hardware acceleration, and I got a render time of 2 minutes and 21 seconds on the optimized power mode, and 2 minutes and 24 seconds on the performance mode. Intel's Quick Sync technology is definitely a very useful tool to have. That being said, I recreated this timeline on my main system, which is powered by a Ryzen 7 1700, and got a render time of just 48.2 seconds. I guess Intel's Quick Sync technology cannot compete with pure horsepower. Now the 2160p project. This was done in the same way, a few clips put together using the same lumetri color, but as well as the higher resolution, these clips were longer. Using the YouTube 4K preset, the render time for the 3-minute project was 8 minutes and 26 seconds on the optimized power mode, and on the performance mode, the render time was 8 minutes and 31 seconds. Again, on my main system, the 4K export took just 4 minutes and 11 seconds. So with double the threads, half the time was taken. That makes sense. Next up, Adobe Media Encoder. I took the 1-minute video from the Premiere Pro testing and upscaled that video to 2160p, and then downscaled that video back to 1080p. Using the YouTube 4K preset, the upscale took 2 minutes and 31 seconds, and the downscaling using the YouTube 1080p preset took 2 minutes and 34 seconds. I honestly did not expect this result because I predicted that the upscaling would take longer than the downscaling. I did the same test on my main system, and the upscaling took 1 minute and 30 seconds, and the downscaling just took 49.8 seconds. This was the gap that I was expecting. Now just a quick look at some gaming figures, and I tested a simple tower defense game called Bad North, mainly because that this was very easy to install via Discord, and I thought, it would, actually run. Here I got at the full 3840 by 2160 around 15 FPS. This was better than I expected. Drop down to 1920 by 1080, the FPS improved to a more playable 26 FPS, and drop down further to 1280 by 720, the frame rate improved to 29 to 30 FPS. I have also included Unigine superposition. I won't spend long on this as the scores are really not that relevant. At 720p low settings, the score was 2307, and the FPS average was just 17.2 FPS. At bare minimum settings, which is 512 by 512 at lowest settings, the FPS average was around 20. So, yeah. So, living with this thing. My ideal laptop would be something reasonably powerful while remaining portable, which is literally the tagline of a MacBook, but honestly, nah. The main contender while searching was Microsoft's Surface Laptop 2. It was powerful and yet still very easy to hold and carry. However, the mediocre reviews and the poor I/O were off-putting, but what ended it for me at least was the maintenance and servicing, which on the Surface Laptop 2 is non-existent. You have to destroy the device to get inside and everything is soldered down anyway. And then I saw this, and on special at the time. It seemed like the perfect package. A current generation CPU, lots of RAM and storage, easy expandability and future-proofing via Thunderbolt 3, a great form factor and easy servicing, with just 8 small hex screws underneath, and with no warranty void if broken stickers on them. Good job, Dell. The 4K screen is fantastic. Colors are bright and vibrant and the blacks are incredible. And having this kind of resolution on a 13.3 inch screen means that everything is extremely sharp, and I mean like smartphone levels of sharpness. The touchscreen is responsive and intuitive and supplements the trackpad well. The trackpad itself is fine, but just fine. The keyboard is good too. The keys are fairly stiff, but honestly I quite like that. However, the layout has taken some getting used to. The enter and backspace buttons are a little too small for my liking. The I/O on this is also very useful with the ability to hook up an external GPU, which would make this a very potent machine. The inclusion of a micro SD card reader seemed a little odd to me at first, but then I actually started using it. It is a great feature to have, and having compatibility with smartphones is brilliant. And with SD capacities getting just larger and larger, oh my god, I want one. It will be a very cost-effective way and a very light way to expand storage. Now I do have to touch on some of the downsides because there are some. I'll start with a simple one. There's the web camera, which is yeah. Now with this small form factor comes one obvious issue: thermals. A feature I would love to have on this would be some sort of manual fan control, because the thermal profiles, at least on my testing, on this were inadequate. Some of the rendering tests that I was doing were very heavy tests, but the fans were not spinning very fast at all. As a result, the CPU was adjusting clocks down further than what would have been necessary if the fans were spinning at 100%, therefore wasting performance. With these power and fan settings, the all-core turbo was settling around 2.6 to 2.7 GHz. I will be looking around to see if I can find any additional fan control software, and I might do a follow-up video showing performance gap if there is any. Also, there is something funny about the audio software, and I didn't fully notice it until I started making this video. This voice track you're listening to right now sounds amazing on my main system, sounds amazing on my phone, probably sounds great at your end, but on this laptop it sounds like I'm stood in an empty warehouse. I don't know what the issue is, but I'm sure it's fixable somehow. Finally, this is quite a heavy laptop for its size, but it does make up for it by being very sturdy. That is a trade-off I am happy with. So, to finish off, honestly, I think I made the right call. Yes, it has taken some getting used to, but overall, I am very happy with this purchase. It is definitely a very strong machine for its size, and I know this because this entire project was done on this laptop. It will definitely make for some excellent editing on the go. Hint hint for future videos. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.